The fluorescent lights of Banner Desert Medical Center buzzed like angry wasps above Izzy's head as another contraction tore through her body. Her copper-red hair, usually her crown of confidence, now clung to her forehead in damp spirals. Those emerald eyes that had charmed Cameron Sterling IV into marriage 3 years ago were now wide with something far worse than physical pain, the dawning realization that she was completely alone. Mrs. Patterson Sterling, the nurse's voice cut through the haze of labor. "Where's your husband? We need his signature for—" He's coming," Izzy gasped between contractions, her Scorpio determination refusing to admit the truth even to herself. Cameron had stepped out for coffee at 11 p.m. It was now 2:15 a.m., and her phone showed nothing but her own desperate, unanswered texts. "Cam, where are you? The baby is coming now. Cameron, answer your phone. Please don't do this to me." Each message delivered but unread. Each call straight to voicemail. The final push came at 2:47 a.m., and Luna Rose Patterson entered the world with a fierce cry that seemed to shake the entire maternity ward. As the doctor placed the tiny, perfect baby on Izzy's chest, she felt a love so overwhelming it momentarily erased everything else. Luna's eyes, an impossible shade of green-blue, stared up at her mother with an intelligence that seemed far too ancient for someone who'd been breathing for less than 30 seconds. "She's beautiful," Izzy whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Daddy's going to love you so much, baby girl." But when she looked toward the door, expecting Cameron to burst through with apologies and flowers and that charming smile that had convinced her he was different from all the other guys, there was only empty space. The nurse returned an hour later with paperwork and a strange expression. "Mrs. Patterson Sterling, I found this in the bathroom mirror." She held up a yellow post-it note, the kind Cameron used for his endless startup ideas and motivation quotes. Izzy's hands trembled as she read the 7 words that would haunt her for the next 4 years. "Can't handle this pressure. Need space. See." That was it. No explanation. No goodbye. No acknowledgement that he was abandoning his wife and newborn daughter at the most vulnerable moment of their lives. Just a post-it note stuck to a hospital bathroom mirror like a grocery list reminder. "Ma'am?" The nurse's voice seemed to come from underwater. "Do you have someone we can call? Family? Friends?" Izzy stared at Luna, who had fallen asleep against her chest with the kind of trust only newborns possess. Complete, absolute faith that the person holding them would never let them fall. The irony wasn't lost on her. Her daughter had more faith in her than her own husband had shown. "No," she whispered, kissing Luna's soft forehead. "It's just us now, baby girl." As Phoenix's desert sunrise painted the hospital walls gold through the window, Izzy made her first decision as a single mother. She would never again depend on someone who could walk away when things got hard. She would build something for Luna that no man could take away. Not with a post-it note, not with empty promises, not with anything. She just had no idea yet how much Cameron had already taken. The yellow note would stay tucked in Luna's baby book for years, not as a keepsake but as a reminder. Some people run when life gets real. Others learn to build empires from the ashes they leave behind. The Chase Bank app wouldn't load. Izzy tapped refresh again, bouncing Luna gently in her arms as the 3-day-old baby fussed against her chest. They were still in the hospital. Insurance would cover one more night, but after that, they'd need to go home to their apartment in Tempe, home to the life she'd built with Cameron. Come on," she whispered to her phone, thumb swiping frantically. Maybe it was just a glitch. The app had been acting up lately, and Cameron always handled their finances anyway. He was the entrepreneur, the one with the business degree from ASU. She was just the marketing girl who helped other people's companies grow while her own dreams sat in a moleskin notebook. The app finally loaded. Joint checking account. $89. 47. Izzy stared at the number, certain she was misreading. They'd had $12,000 in that account just last week. Cameron's latest investment opportunity required some upfront capital, but he'd promised it would triple by Christmas. She'd been saving for Luna's nursery, for maternity leave, for the security blanket every new mother desperately needs. Her hands shook as she scrolled through the transaction history. 3 large withdrawals, all made yesterday while she was in labor. 2 transfers to accounts she didn't recognize. 1 massive cash withdrawal at 2:30 a.m., right when she'd been pushing Luna into the world. The son of a... She caught herself, looking down at Luna's peaceful face. "No, baby. Mama doesn't use words like that anymore." But Cameron Sterling IV apparently did much worse things than curse. The next discovery came when she tried to call him from the hospital landline, thinking maybe he'd blocked her number in some kind of emotional panic. The automated voice was clinical, final. The number you have dialed is no longer in service. Instagram, account not found. LinkedIn, profile unavailable. Facebook, user not found. It was like Cameron Sterling or Forbes had never existed at all. Like their 3-year marriage, their shared dreams, their daughter sleeping in her arms, had all been some elaborate hallucination. Mrs. Patterson, a new nurse appeared, younger, with kind eyes that reminded Izzy of her college roommate. There's a social worker here to see you. Standard procedure for situations like this. Situations like this. As if women were abandoned at hospitals so frequently it required a protocol. 20 minutes later, Izzy sat across from Miranda Chen. No, she corrected herself, remembering the name restrictions. Miranda Torres, a woman in her 50s who'd clearly seen every variation of human cruelty and still chose to show up for work each day. Have you been in contact with the father since the birth? Miranda asked gently, her pen poised over a clipboard. He left a note, Izzy said, the words feeling surreal even as she spoke them. A post-it note. In the bathroom. Miranda's expression didn't change, but Izzy caught the slight tightening around her eyes. This wasn't Miranda's first abandoned mother. Do you have family support? Friends who can help? Izzy thought of her parents in Scotland, too far and too broke to help. Her few friends from college, all wrapped up in their own new marriages and Pinterest-perfect lives. Cameron had been her world, her future, her safety net. Now she was free-falling with nothing but a baby and $89. I have Luna, she said finally, and I have my work. I do digital marketing for small businesses. I can figure this out. Miranda handed her a folder thick with resources, WIC applications, housing assistance, mental health services. Postpartum depression is common even under the best circumstances, with additional stressors like, I'm not depressed, Izzy interrupted, then caught herself lying. The weight in her chest, the way colors seemed muted, the constant feeling of drowning even while sitting still. These weren't normal. It's not a weakness, Miranda said softly. It's brain chemistry, and you can't take care of her if you don't take care of yourself first. That evening, alone in the sterile hospital room with Luna sleeping in the bassinet beside her bed, Izzy opened her laptop for the first time since labor started. Her client emails were piling up, deadlines missed, campaigns hanging in limbo, revenue slipping away while she'd been busy becoming a mother. But there was something else in her inbox. An email from Cameron's account, sent 3 hours ago. Subject, sorry Iz, I know this seems bad, but I'm doing this for us, for our future. I met some investors in Austin who want to back my cryptocurrency course. This is the break I've been waiting for. I need to focus 100% right now. Can't be distracted by baby stuff. You're stronger than you think. You always were the one who had everything figured out anyway. I'll send money when the business takes off. CPS. Tell Luna Daddy loves her. Izzy read it 3 times before the full audacity hit her. Baby stuff. Their daughter was baby stuff. His wife hemorrhaging alone in a hospital bed was a distraction from his cryptocurrency dreams. She looked at Luna, tiny fists curled against her cheeks, chest rising and falling with perfect rhythm. This was the most important thing that had ever happened to either of them, and Cameron had reduced it to an inconvenience. You know what, Luna? She whispered, reaching out to stroke her daughter's soft cheek. Daddy doesn't deserve to love you. Not yet. Maybe not ever. For the first time since the post-it note, Izzy smiled. It wasn't happiness, not yet, but it was something fiercer, something more dangerous. It was the beginning of a plan. The email would be the last time Cameron Sterling Ford tried to explain himself, but it wouldn't be the last time Izzy thought about cryptocurrency courses, and Austin investors, and men who called their children distractions. Some obsessions are born from love. Others are born from betrayal so deep it rewrites your DNA. The lock had been changed. Izzy stood in the hallway of their Tempe apartment complex, Luna's car seat heavy in one hand, her hospital bag in the other, staring at the brass lock that definitely wasn't the same one she'd left 4 days ago. Her key turned halfway and stopped, as useless as everything else Cameron had left her with. You've got to be kidding me, she whispered, jiggling the handle one more time. The Uber driver was already pulling away, probably grateful to escape whatever domestic drama was unfolding in Building C. Luna started crying, That newborn wail that sounds like the world is ending because, for her, it kind of was. Hungry, confused, needing the consistency of home that apparently no longer existed. "I know, baby girl, I know." Izzy bounced the car seat gently, her mind racing through options. The apartment manager's office was closed until Monday. It was Friday evening. She had $89, a 3-day-old baby, and nowhere to sleep tonight. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Landlord called. "Cam broke the lease yesterday. Said you moved to Austin. Sorry you had to find out like this. Travis, 2B. Travis from 2B, who she'd maybe spoken to twice in 3 years, had more information about her living situation than she did. The humiliation burned hotter than the Arizona sun beating down on the concrete walkway. Another text, this one from Cameron's number. Apparently he hadn't blocked her completely. "Told Wesley you decided to move back with your parents. Easier transition for everyone. Your stuff is in storage unit 447 on Baseline Road. Code is Luna's birthday." Even in abandonment, Cameron was rewriting history, making himself the reasonable one, the one who'd helped with the transition. Never mind that her parents lived in a 1-bedroom flat in Edinburgh and couldn't afford international phone calls, let alone housing a daughter and granddaughter they'd never met. Izzy sank onto the concrete steps, Luna's cries echoing off the stucco walls. This was rock bottom. Homeless with a newborn, broke, betrayed, and so exhausted she couldn't think straight. The postpartum hormones made everything feel magnified, like her emotions had been run through an amplifier set to maximum. "Excuse me?" A voice interrupted her spiral. "Are you all right?" A woman in her 60s stood at the bottom of the stairs, silver hair pulled back in a neat ponytail, wearing scrubs that suggested she'd just gotten off a long shift. Her name tag read, Meredith RN, and her expression held the particular brand of no-nonsense compassion that only came from years of dealing with people at their worst moments. "I'm fine," Izzy lied automatically, then felt Luna's cry pierce through her skull again. "Actually, no, I'm really not fine." Meredith climbed the steps slowly, assessing the situation with practiced eyes. "New baby? 3 days old, and apparently homeless." The words came out before Izzy could stop them. "My ex-husband, he broke our lease while I was in the hospital giving birth. That's illegal in Arizona," Meredith said matter-of-factly. "But I'm guessing you don't have energy for a legal battle right now." "I don't have energy for anything right now." Meredith sat down beside her on the steps, unbothered by the heat radiating from the concrete. "I'm in 3A. Been watching you and that boy come and go for 2 years. Never liked him much. Too much hair gel and not enough follow-through, if you ask me." Despite everything, Izzy almost smiled. "You pegged him perfectly. Honey, I've been a labor and delivery nurse for 37 years. I can spot the runners from a mile away." Meredith's voice was gentle but firm. "The question is, what are you going to do now?" Luna's cries had settled into whimpers, and Izzy realized she'd been unconsciously swaying the car seat in that rhythmic motion all new mothers learn without being taught. "I have no idea. I've never been on my own before. College, then Cameron, then this." "Well, you're on your own now," Meredith said, not unkindly. "And that baby is counting on you to figure it out." The truth hit Izzy like a physical blow. Luna didn't care about Cameron's betrayal or Izzy's broken heart or the financial devastation. Luna needed food, shelter, safety, and love, in that order. Everything else was just noise. "There's an extended stay motel on Apache Boulevard," Meredith continued. "Not fancy but clean. Weekly rates. Give you time to think, to plan. I have $89. Then you better get creative fast." Meredith stood up, brushing dust off her scrubs. "But first you need to eat something. You're still recovering from major trauma, and that baby needs you healthy." She pulled a $20 bill from her wallet. "There's a Fry's grocery store 2 blocks down. Get yourself a rotisserie chicken, some bread, whatever formula that baby needs. Consider it a welcome to single motherhood gift." Izzy stared at the money, her throat tight with unexpected gratitude. "I can't." "You can and you will. And when you're back on your feet, not if when, you'll help the next woman sitting on these steps with a newborn and nowhere to go." As Meredith disappeared into the building, Izzy looked down at Luna, who had finally stopped crying, and was staring up at her with those impossible green-blue eyes. So trusting, so certain that Mama would figure it out. "Okay, baby girl," Izzy whispered, standing up on shaky legs. "Mama's going to figure it out." The first step was the storage unit. The second was finding somewhere to sleep tonight. The third was making a plan that would ensure they never ever found themselves this vulnerable again. But as she walked toward the main road, Luna's car seat bumping gently against her leg, Izzy felt something unexpected rising in her chest. Not hope exactly, but something fiercer, something that tasted like determination and felt like fire. Cameron Sterling IV had wanted to rewrite their story. Fine, she'd write a better ending. The walk to Fry's grocery store would take 23 minutes with a newborn. By the time Izzy reached the automatic doors, she'd already started planning her empire. It would begin with a rotisserie chicken and a cheap motel room, but it would end with Cameron Sterling IV understanding exactly what he'd thrown away. Room 237 at the Desert Palms. Extended stay smelled like industrial disinfectant and broken dreams. The carpet was brown, whether by design or decades of wear, Izzy couldn't tell, and the single window looked out onto a parking lot where tumbleweeds collected against rusted pickup trucks. But it had 4 walls, a deadbolt, and cost $59 for the week. Most importantly, it was theirs. Luna slept in the center of the bed, surrounded by pillows like a tiny fortress. At 2 weeks old, she'd already adapted to their nomadic life with the resilience that would later make her such a formidable little person. Izzy sat cross-legged on the floor, laptop balanced on her knees, surrounded by printouts from the storage unit. Bank statements, lease agreements, credit card bills that painted a picture of financial destruction she was still processing. Cameron hadn't just emptied their checking account. He'd maxed out their joint credit cards, taken cash advances, even borrowed against his 401k. The storage unit had revealed the full scope, $47,000 in debt, that somehow had her social security number attached to it. How is that even legal? She whispered to Luna, who responded with a small sigh that sounded remarkably like judgment. Her phone buzzed. Another client email marked urgent. WebCorp Solutions needed their September campaign launched yesterday, and Izzy's absence had already cost them 2 potential leads. She'd built her freelance marketing business carefully over 3 years, cultivating clients who trusted her instincts and relied on her consistency. Now she was answering emails from a motel room floor at 11 p.m., while her newborn daughter slept among cheap pillows. The irony wasn't lost on her. She spent her days helping other people's businesses grow while her own life imploded. She'd increased revenue for a Phoenix coffee roastery by 340% last year. She'd launched a successful social media campaign for a Tucson boutique that quadrupled their online sales. She understood market research, customer psychology, brand positioning. Maybe it was time to apply those skills to her own situation. Izzy opened a new document and started typing. Situation analysis. Izzy Patterson, Project Phoenix. Current status, age 26. Assets, $89 cash, laptop, clothes, newborn daughter. Liabilities, $47K debt, no permanent address, sole financial responsibility for infant skills. Digital marketing, social media management. Content creation, client relationship management. Market position, displaced but not defeated. Competitive analysis, Cameron Sterling IV, 12K Instagram followers, promoting cryptocurrency course, based in Austin target market, aspiring entrepreneurs, primarily male 25-40 demographic weakness, no actual business track record, relies on lifestyle marketing versus substance opportunity assessment, growing market for authentic business content, especially female entrepreneurship gap in market for real single mother success stories versus performative inspiration. Personal story has viral potential if positioned correctly. Izzy paused, staring at what she'd written. She was analyzing her own trauma like a marketing campaign, but maybe that's exactly what she needed. Emotional distance, strategic thinking, the clinical approach that had made her so successful with clients. Her phone rang. Cameron's number. For a moment she considered not answering, but Luna stirred slightly and Izzy realized she wanted to hear what excuse he'd offer for the debt, for the complete financial devastation he'd left behind. What do you want? Her voice was steadier than she felt. Thank God. I've been trying to reach you. Cameron's voice had that forced casualness he used when he was lying. Listen, there's been a misunderstanding about the credit cards. A misunderstanding? Izzy kept her tone flat, professional. Is that what we're calling $47,000 in debt? Silence. Then, how did you... Look, I can explain. The Austin opportunity required more capital than expected, but it's going to pay off huge. I just need a few months to... Where are you staying, Cam? What does that matter? I'm focused on our future. Where are you staying? Another pause. With Madison temporarily. Just until the business takes off. Madison. The name hit like a physical slap. How long have you been with Madison? It's not like that. She's an investor, a business partner. How long, Cameron? Izzy, you're not understanding the bigger picture here. This cryptocurrency course is going to revolutionize. She hung up. Luna had woken during the call and was watching her mother with those ancient-seeming eyes. Izzy picked up her daughter, settling her against her chest, breathing in that newborn smell that somehow made everything else feel manageable. You know what, baby girl? She whispered. Daddy just gave us very valuable market research. Izzy opened her laptop again, this time navigating to Instagram. It took 30 seconds to find Cam Sterling CEO, and another 30 to find Madison Harper's account linked in his bio. Madison Harper, 25, lifestyle coach, $1,200 followers, posting yoga poses and smoothie recipes from what looked like a high-end Austin apartment. But it was the photo timestamps that told the real story. Cameron and Madison's business partnership had been documented on social media for 3 months. 3 months of couples workouts and shared breakfast posts and motivational quotes about building empires together. Luna had been conceived 4 months ago. Izzy stared at the photos until her vision blurred. Then she screenshot everything, saved it to a folder labeled Evidence, and closed the laptop. Some people run when life gets complicated. Others document the competition and prepare for war. Your daddy thinks he's building an empire, Luna, she said softly, stroking her daughter's cheek. But he has no idea what an empire actually looks like. She looked around the motel room. Peeling paint, broken air conditioning, the sound of highway traffic bleeding through thin walls. This wasn't an ending. This was market research. And tomorrow she'd start building something Cameron Sterling IV couldn't take away, couldn't control, and definitely couldn't compete with. The folder labeled Evidence would eventually contain 847 screenshots, 23 financial documents, and 1 detailed analysis of Cameron's social media strategy. But tonight it held just the beginning of what would become the most successful revenge campaign in Arizona business history. The studio apartment in Glendale wasn't much, 450 square feet of beige walls and linoleum floors, but it had something the motel room hadn't, a deadbolt that only Izzy controlled. She'd managed to negotiate first month and security deposit by promising the landlord, Mrs. Chen, 3 months of social media marketing for her daughter's nail salon, the bartering economy of survival. Luna, now 6 months old, sat in her bouncy seat watching her mother work with the intense focus that would later make her such a determined child. Those green-blue eyes tracked every movement as Izzy typed client proposals on her laptop, balanced on a card table that served as both desk and dining room. The morning routine had become sacred. 5 a.m. wake-up, coffee from the Mr. Coffee machine that was Izzy's one splurge, emails until Luna woke up at 6:30, then the careful choreography of single motherhood, bottle, diaper, bouncy seat positioned where she could see Mama, while Mama built their future one client at a time. Mama's got a big call today, baby girl, Izzy murmured, adjusting Luna's favorite toy, a stuffed phoenix she'd bought at a thrift store because the symbolism felt too perfect to ignore. The coffee company wants to expand into 3 new markets. Her phone buzzed with a notification she'd been both dreading and anticipating for weeks. Cameron had posted a new video on Instagram. 12,847 followers now, all hanging on every word of his entrepreneur mindset content. Izzy had been studying his strategy for months, tracking his posting schedule, analyzing his engagement rates, dissecting his message with the cold precision of a competitor. She knew his content better than he did. The recycled motivational quotes, the borrowed business advice, the lifestyle shots designed to sell dreams to desperate people. The video was titled, How I Built My Business from Nothing, and featured Cameron in what looked like Madison's apartment, ring light perfectly positioned, Austin skyline visible through floor-to-ceiling windows. 6 months ago I made the hardest decision of my life, he said to the camera, that practiced sincerity that had once charmed Izzy now making her skin crawl. I walked away from everything comfortable, everything safe, to bet on myself, to bet on the future I knew I could create. Izzy's hands tightened on her coffee mug. He was talking about abandoning his family like it was a business pivot. Sometimes the people closest to you don't understand the vision, Cameron continued. They want to keep you small, keep you safe, keep you from reaching your full potential. But successful entrepreneurs know when it's time to level up, even if it means leaving people behind. Luna made a soft cooing sound, and Izzy looked down to see her daughter reaching for the Phoenix toy, tiny fingers grasping with determination. That's right, baby, mama's taking notes. The comment section was a mix of fire emojis and aspirational responses. You're inspiring me to make hard choices too. And this is exactly the mindset shift I needed. And how do I sign up for your course? His course. The cryptocurrency masterclass he'd been promoting for months. Priced at $497 for life-changing financial education. Izzy had watched the sales page evolve, tracked the early bird pricing, monitored the affiliate partnerships he was building. She'd also done something Cameron would never think to do: actual research. Late nights while Luna slept, Izzy had dug into cryptocurrency education, blockchain technology, market analysis. She'd taken free courses from MIT, read white papers until her eyes burned, joined Discord servers where actual crypto professionals shared real insights. Cameron's course was repackaged information from free YouTube videos, basic trading principles he'd learned from a $29 Udemy class, and motivational fluff designed to make people feel smart while learning nothing actionable. But his marketing was working. The comments proved it. "You know what, Luna?" Izzy said, saving the video to her research folder. "Daddy's teaching Mama about market positioning." Her laptop chimed with a new email. WebCorp Solutions wanted to discuss a major campaign expansion. 6 figures over 12 months. The kind of contract that could change everything. She'd been nurturing this relationship for 8 months, delivering results that exceeded every expectation. The call was scheduled for 2 p.m. during Luna's nap. Perfect timing. But first, she had her own content to create. Izzy opened her notes app, where she'd been documenting ideas for months. Not revenge fantasies, she was past that now, but something more strategic. A long-term plan that would build something real, while Cameron's house of cards inevitably collapsed. Content strategy. The real entrepreneur journey. Concept. Document the actual process of building a business as a single mother audience. Women who want authentic success stories, not performative motivation. Platform. LinkedIn first. Professional credibility. Then Instagram. Broader reach. Messaging. Hard work. Hype. Real results lifestyle fantasy. She'd been hesitant to put herself out there to make her struggle public, but watching Cameron monetize his abandonment had shifted something fundamental in her perspective. If he could profit from running away, she could profit from staying. "What do you think, Luna? Ready to show the world how real empires are built?" Luna gurgled approvingly, or maybe she was just commenting on the toy phoenix. Either way, Izzy took it as a yes. She opened LinkedIn and started typing her first post. "6 months ago, my husband left me with a 3-day-old baby and $89. Today, I'm announcing the biggest client contract of my career. This is what building a business actually looks like. No ring lights, no Austin penthouses, just 5 a.m. coffee and a daughter who believes her mama can do anything. Stay tuned. This story is just getting started." Her finger hovered over the post button for 30 seconds. Once she published this, there was no going back to anonymity. No pretending her life was normal. No hiding from the mess Cameron had made. But Luna was watching her with those impossibly wise eyes. And Izzy realized her daughter deserved to see what courage looked like. She hit post. Within minutes, the comments started rolling in. Other mothers sharing their stories. Business professionals offering support. Complete strangers saying they couldn't wait to see what came next. And buried in the notifications, one comment that made her smile. Someone's about to learn what real entrepreneurship looks like. Cameron Sterling IV had taught her about cryptocurrency and social media marketing and the power of personal branding. Now it was time to show him how those lessons really worked. The LinkedIn post would eventually be seen by 47,000 people and shared 1,200 times. But in that moment, watching Luna clap her tiny hands at the toy phoenix, Izzy only cared about an audience of 1. Her daughter would grow up watching her mother build something that couldn't be taken away with a post-it note. Luna's first birthday party was a celebration for 2. Izzy had baked a small chocolate cake, Duncan Hines mix because gourmet wasn't in the budget yet, and decorated their Glendale apartment with dollar store streamers. Luna sat in her high chair, more interested in smearing frosting on her face than eating it, while Izzy documented the moment on her phone. The past year had been a masterclass in controlled demolition and strategic rebuilding. Her LinkedIn following had grown to 8,000 professionals who hung on every post about real entrepreneurship. The WebCorp contract had led to 3 more major clients. She'd moved to a 2-bedroom apartment in Scottsdale, bought a used Toyota RAV4, and started putting money away for Luna's college fund. But more importantly, She'd been watching Cameron's empire crack. "Look what Mama found today, baby girl," Izzy said, showing Luna her phone screen. Cameron's latest Instagram post had 47 comments, down from his usual 200 plus. His cryptocurrency course sales page now displayed only 3 spots left for the 3rd month running, a classic scarcity marketing tactic that fooled no one when overused. The algorithm was turning against him. Engagement was dropping. The lifestyle content that had worked 6 months ago now felt stale, performative. People were getting smarter about fake entrepreneurs, and Cameron's lack of substance was showing. Meanwhile, Izzy's content was gaining traction precisely because it was the opposite of everything Cameron represented. Real struggles, actual results, transparent process documentation. Her recent post about landing a 40K client while Luna had the flu had gotten 15,000 views and 300 comments from working mothers sharing their own stories. Her phone rang. Unknown Austin number. "Izzy, it's me." Cameron's voice was different. Smaller somehow, less of that entrepreneur confidence that used to fill every conversation. "It's Luna's birthday," she said simply, watching her daughter investigate whether cake frosting worked as hair gel. "I know. That's why I'm calling." A pause. "I wanted to talk to her. She's 1 year old, Cam. She can say mama and no and more. What exactly did you plan to discuss?" "Don't be like that. I'm her father." The word father hung in the air between them like a bad joke. Izzy looked at Luna, who had never once asked about Daddy, never seemed to notice that piece was missing from their puzzle. "Are you?" she asked quietly. "What's that supposed to mean? Fathers show up, fathers contribute. Fathers don't disappear for a year and then call wanting conversation privileges." Cameron's voice gained an edge. "I've been building something. For us. For her future. How's that working out?" Izzy couldn't keep the ice from her tone. "Because your engagement rates are down 60% and your course isn't selling." Silence. Then, "How do you know about my engagement rates?" "Same way I know about Madison moving out last month. Same way I know you're behind on rent. Same way I know you've been borrowing money from your parents." Izzy's voice stayed steady, professional. "Market research, Cameron. You taught me the importance of knowing your competition." "Competition?" His voice cracked slightly. "Izzy, we're not competitors, we were family. We're being the operative phrase." Luna had successfully decorated herself with chocolate frosting and was now clapping, proud of her artistic achievement. Izzy couldn't help but smile, and somehow that simple joy broke through her carefully maintained anger. "She's beautiful, Cam," she said softly. "She's smart and funny and determined. She's going to change the world someday, and she's doing it all without knowing you exist. That's not fair." "Fair?" The word came out sharper than intended. "You left us with nothing. Less than nothing. You stuck me with 47,000 in debt and disappeared. I've been rebuilding our lives one client at a time while you played entrepreneur in Austin. I can fix this. I want to fix this." "How?" Another pause. Longer this time. "I don't know yet, but I'm coming back to Phoenix next week for a business conference. Maybe we could talk? In person?" Izzy looked around their apartment, bright, clean, filled with Luna's toys and her own success. The framed printout of her first 10K month hung next to Luna's artwork. Photos of client wins covered the refrigerator. This wasn't just a home, it was headquarters for the life she'd built from scratch. "I'll think about it," she said finally. After Cameron hung up, Izzy sat on the floor with Luna, who was now attempting to feed frosting to her stuffed phoenix. The toy was worn from constant companionship, one wing slightly loose from too much toddler love. "What do you think, baby girl? Should Mama see Daddy?" Luna looked up with chocolate-covered cheeks and said very clearly, "No." It was her favorite word, but the timing felt prophetic. Izzy opened her laptop and navigated to Cameron's Instagram. His latest post showed him at what looked like a discount business conference, the kind held in airport hotel ballrooms with promises of "network your way to millions." The caption read, "Sometimes you have to go back to where it all started to remember why you began." Phoenix was where it all started, all right? Where he'd started his pattern of running when things got difficult. But Phoenix was also where Izzy had learned to rise from ashes. She opened a new post on LinkedIn. Year 1 recap. From $89 and a newborn to 6-figure revenue and a thriving consultancy. Luna turned one today, and I realized we're not the same people who were abandoned in that hospital room. We're stronger, smarter, and completely self-sufficient. To everyone who said you can't do it alone, you were right. I didn't do it alone. I had the best business partner in the world watching my back. She attached a photo of Luna with her chocolate-covered face. tiny fist raised in what looked like a victory salute. Here's to year 2. It's going to be even better. The post went live as Luna fell asleep in her high chair, chocolate frosting in her red curls, the stuffed phoenix tucked under her arm. Tomorrow, Izzy would clean up the party debris and get back to building their empire. But tonight, watching her daughter sleep with that peaceful confidence only children possess, she realized something important. Cameron could come back to Phoenix if he wanted. She just wasn't the same woman he'd left here. The LinkedIn post would reach 23,000 people and generate inquiries from 5 potential clients worth $180,000 combined. But the real victory was simpler. Luna's first word after mama and no would be mine, pointing to the stuffed phoenix. Some empires are built on ambition. Others are built on teaching your daughter that everything important belongs to her. The message came through LinkedIn on a Tuesday morning, while Izzy was preparing for her biggest presentation yet. Marcus Alexander Washington, founder of Solar Tech Innovations, had been her client for 6 months, and today she was pitching a complete digital transformation strategy worth $250. For her son, the kind of contract that would officially move her from freelancer to agency owner. Izzy, saw your competitor is in town. Same WeWork. Thought you should know. Alex. Attached was a screenshot of Cameron's Instagram story, a motivational quote overlaid on a photo of the Scottsdale WeWork lobby, tagged with, "Back where the magic happens, entrepreneur life, Phoenix Rising." The irony of Cameron using Crab or Phoenix Rising wasn't lost on her. Luna, now 15 months old and walking with the determined swagger of someone who'd inherited her mother's Scorpio intensity, toddled over with her stuffed phoenix. Mama work? Yes, baby girl. Mama's got a very important meeting today. Izzy picked up her daughter, breathing in that sweet toddler smell that always grounded her. And apparently, we might run into someone from Mama's past. She'd been dreading and anticipating this moment for months. Part of her wanted to avoid the WeWork entirely, to reschedule and maintain the careful distance she'd built between her new life and Cameron's chaos. But a larger part, the part that had survived homelessness and debt and single motherhood, wanted him to see exactly what he'd walked away from. The Scottsdale WeWork buzzed with the familiar energy of ambitious people pretending to be more successful than they were. Izzy had been working from their conference rooms for 8 months, long enough to recognize the difference between real entrepreneurs and Instagram performers. She arrived 30 minutes early for her 2 p.m. meeting with Alex, Luna strapped into her compact stroller, diaper bag efficiently packed with everything needed for a 2-hour meeting. This wasn't her first time bringing Luna to client presentations. Single mothers didn't have the luxury of perfect childcare arrangements, and Alex had specifically requested to meet the business partner who keeps you motivated. Ms. Patterson? The receptionist smiled. Mr. Washington is running a few minutes late. Conference room C is ready whenever you'd like to set up. Izzy was arranging her presentation materials when she heard the voice that still triggered an involuntary stress response after 18 months. Building sustainable wealth through cryptocurrency education. The Phoenix market is absolutely untapped for this kind of high-value content. Through the glass walls of conference room C, she could see Cameron at a table in the common area, laptop open, ring light positioned perfectly, apparently filming content about his return to Phoenix. He looked different, thinner, wearing a wrinkled button-down that had seen better days. The confident swagger replaced by something that looked suspiciously like desperation. Luna spotted him first. "Man," she announced, pointing with the clarity of a child who'd never learned to be polite about staring. Cameron looked up at the sound, and their eyes met through the glass. The moment stretched like a held breath. Izzy watched recognition dawn on his face, followed by something that might have been shock. She realized he was seeing her, really seeing her, for the first time since the hospital. The professional blowout, the tailored blazer, the confidence that came from 18 months of succeeding without him. But more than that, he was seeing Luna. Their daughter had Cameron's stubborn cowlick, but Izzy's green eyes and that determined chin that suggested she'd be formidable someday. She was beautiful and healthy and clearly adored, wearing a tiny blazer that matched her mother's because Izzy believed in teaching her daughter that they were a team. Cameron stood up slowly, his filming forgotten, ring light still casting dramatic shadows across his empty table. "Izzy," he approached the conference room door like he was approaching a wild animal. You look amazing." "Thank you." Her voice was steady, professional. "You look like you're working." "Yeah, content creation. Building the brand, you know." He glanced at Luna. who was studying him with the intense focus she usually reserved for new toys. Wow, she's so big. Children tend to grow when they're properly cared for. The words landed like a slap, and Cameron flinched. Can we talk, please? I know I don't deserve it, but Izzy. Alex Washington's voice cut through the tension as he strode into the common area, commanding presence immediately shifting the energy of the space. At 6 feet tall, with the kind of quiet confidence that came from actual success, Alex was everything Cameron pretended to be on social media. Alex, perfect timing. Izzy felt her shoulders relax as he approached. I was just running into an old acquaintance, Cameron Sterling. Cameron extended his hand with that practiced entrepreneur smile, the one Izzy used to find charming. I don't think we've met. Alex shook his hand briefly, his expression polite but cool. Marcus Washington. And you are? Entrepreneur, content creator, crypto educator. Cameron's pitch mode activated automatically. Actually, I was just telling someone about the untapped potential in the Phoenix market for... Alex's tone suggested he'd immediately categorized Cameron as the type of person who interrupted conversations to deliver unsolicited elevator pitches. Well, Izzy and I have some actual business to discuss. He turned to Luna, who was reaching for his watch with grabby toddler hands. And how's my favorite business consultant today? Luna giggled as Alex gently redirected her attention to the pen in his pocket, clearly comfortable with children in a way that suggested actual experience rather than performance. She's been looking forward to showing you her presentation skills, Izzy said, lifting Luna from the stroller. Haven't you, baby girl? Presentation, Luna repeated carefully, proud of the big word she'd been practicing. Cameron watched this interaction with an expression Izzy couldn't quite read. Pain, maybe. Regret. The dawning realization that he was witnessing the life he'd chosen to abandon. We should get started, Alex said, checking his watch. I've got another call at 4 and I want to give this the attention it deserves. Of course. Izzy gathered her materials, then looked at Cameron one more time. It was illuminating to see you again. Izzy, wait. Can we talk later? I'm staying at the Marriott downtown through Friday. I really need to. Mr. Sterling. Alex's voice carried the authority of someone accustomed to being listened to. Ms. Patterson has built something remarkable here. Whatever your history, I'd suggest respecting the boundaries of someone who's clearly moved on. Cameron's face flushed red, but he nodded. Of course. Sorry to interrupt. As they settled into the conference room, Luna happily occupied with the coloring books Izzy always brought, Alex leaned back in his chair. Ex-husband? Baby daddy who decided fatherhood wasn't in his business plan. Izzy's tone was matter-of-fact. He left when Luna was 3 days old. Alex nodded slowly. And now he's back. Trying to... I have no idea what he's trying to do. But it doesn't matter. Izzy opened her laptop, the familiar comfort of work helping her refocus. Shall we talk about transforming SolarTech's digital presence? For the next 90 minutes, they dove deep into strategy, metrics, implementation timelines. Luna alternated between coloring and charming Alex with her attempts to help by organizing his pens by color. This is exactly what we need, Alex said finally, reviewing the proposal summary. When can you start? Immediately. I've already assembled the team for a project this size. Team? Izzy gestured to Luna, who was now arranging crayons in precise rows. My business partner and I are very hands-on with our clients. Alex laughed. Genuine, warm. Best business partner I've ever met. Deal. They shook hands as Luna clapped, apparently understanding that good things had just happened. Through the glass walls, Izzy could see Cameron still at his table, ring light off, staring at his phone with the dejected posture of someone whose content wasn't performing. Alex, she said as they packed up, thank you, for earlier. For what? For reminding me what it looks like when someone chooses to stay. Alex's expression softened. Izzy, you built this. All of it. Don't let anyone make you forget that. As they walked toward the elevator, Luna waving goodbye to everyone in the common area with royal enthusiasm, Izzy felt something shift inside her chest. Not closure exactly, but clarity. Cameron Sterling IV had wanted to see her again. Mission accomplished. Now he could spend the rest of his Phoenix visit understanding exactly what he'd thrown away. The SolarTech contract would officially launch Patterson Digital Agency and lead to 12 additional corporate clients within 6 months. But the real victory was simpler. Luna's perfectly organized crayon display, a tiny mirror of the empire her mother was building. Beautiful, intentional, and completely under their control. Cameron started showing up everywhere. Not in the stalker way that would require restraining orders, but in the pathetic way of a man who'd finally realized what he'd lost and had no idea how to process that information. He lingered at the Starbucks near Luna's daycare. He attended every free business networking event in Scottsdale. He even signed up for a yoga class at the studio, where Izzy had mentioned practicing in one of her LinkedIn posts from 6 months ago. "Mama man again," Luna observed from her car seat as they pulled into the parking lot of Whole Foods. Cameron was sitting in a silver Camry, clearly a rental, scrolling through his phone with the defeated posture of someone whose content creation wasn't paying the bills. "I see him, baby girl." Izzy's voice was calm, but her hands tightened on the steering wheel. "What should we do?" "Ignore," Luna announced with the wisdom of someone who'd learned that word recently and enjoyed its power. Smart girl. But ignoring became harder when Cameron started commenting on her LinkedIn posts. Not trolling or hostile comments, but worse, desperate attempts at relevance wrapped in fake enthusiasm. "So proud to see you thriving. Our daughter is lucky to have such a driven mother. Your success story is inspiring to all entrepreneurs. Keep crushing it. Phoenix business community is lucky to have innovators like you." The comments made Izzy's skin crawl, partly because of their transparent manipulation, but mostly because of how they reframed their history. "Our daughter," as if he'd been co-parenting from Austin instead of completely abandoning them. Her followers noticed. "Who is this guy claiming your daughter? Sounds like someone trying to rewrite history." "Izzy, you don't owe anyone access to your success story." The final straw came on a Thursday evening when Izzy was leaving Luna's daycare and found Cameron waiting by her RAV4. "Please don't call security," he said quickly, hands raised in a gesture of surrender. "I just need 5 minutes, please." Luna, now 18 months old and increasingly verbal, took one look at Cameron and declared, "No, thank you. She has good instincts," Izzy said, unlocking her car and placing Luna in her car seat. "What do you want, Cameron?" "I want to be in her life. In both your lives." His voice cracked slightly. "I made a mistake, Izzy. The biggest mistake of my life. A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk. You didn't make a mistake. You made a choice. Multiple choices, over multiple months." Izzy's tone was matter-of-fact, clinical. "You chose Madison. You chose Austin. You chose to drain our bank accounts and disappear. I was scared. I was 29 years old and terrified of being responsible for a family. But I've grown up. I've learned." "Have you?" Izzy interrupted. "Because from where I'm standing, you look like the same person who runs when things get difficult. Your business failed in Austin. Madison left you, so now you're back here hoping I'll fix your life again." Cameron's face went pale. "How do you know about Madison?" "Market research. I told you I study my competition." "We're not competitors, Izzy. We're—" "What? What are we exactly?" She faced him fully, and he took a step back at the intensity in her emerald eyes. "You're not Luna's father in any meaningful sense. You're not my ex-husband. You're just someone who used to live in my house. You're a stranger who shares DNA with my daughter. That's not fair." "Fair?" The word came out like a laugh, but there was no humor in it. "You want to talk about fair? Fair would be the $47,000 in debt you left me with. Fair would be 18 months of child support you've never paid. Fair would be Luna having a father who chose to stay." Luna had been listening to this conversation with the serious expression she wore when adults were discussing important things. Now she leaned forward in her car seat and said very clearly, "Bye-bye, man." Cameron looked at his daughter, really looked at her, and something broke across his face. "She doesn't even know me." "No, she doesn't. And that's your fault, not mine. I want to change that. I want to be her dad. Dad is a verb, not a noun." Izzy's voice softened slightly, but not with forgiveness, with pity. "You can't just show up 18 months later and claim a title you never earned. Then let me earn it. Give me a chance to." "No." The word was final, absolute. "My daughter doesn't need someone who might stay if the mood strikes him. She needs security, consistency, people who choose her every single day. You've already proven you're not that person." Cameron stood in the parking lot as Izzy drove away, Luna waving goodbye from her car seat with the cheerful indifference of someone saying farewell to a grocery store clerk. That evening, while Luna played with her blocks and babbled to her stuffed phoenix, Izzy opened her laptop and did something she'd been avoiding for weeks. She researched family law attorneys. Not because she was afraid of Cameron, she wasn't, but because successful entrepreneurs protected their assets and Luna was the most important asset she'd ever built. Her phone buzzed with a text from Alex. "Saw your LinkedIn post about boundary setting. Everything okay?" She'd posted that morning about the importance of protecting your energy from people who confused access with relationship. It had gotten 500 comments from women sharing their own stories of reclaiming power from people who'd treated them as optional. Just some cleanup from the past. Nothing I can't handle. If you need anything, let me know. Luna's honorary uncle is here for backup. The text made her smile. Alex had started referring to himself as Luna's honorary uncle after she'd called him Uncle Alex at their last meeting, apparently deciding he was part of their chosen family. You know what, baby girl? Izzy said, watching Luna stack blocks with the focused determination that suggested engineering might be in her future. Some people earn their place in our family. Others just assume they deserve it. Luna looked up from her blocks. Mama family? That's right. Mama and Luna family. Uncle Alex family. Meredith from the old apartment family. She ticked off the people who'd chosen to stay, who'd shown up consistently, who'd proven their love through actions rather than words. Cameron? Luna asked, apparently testing the boundaries of their family definition. Cameron is just Cameron, not our family. Luna nodded solemnly and went back to her blocks, apparently satisfied with this categorization. Later that night, after Luna was asleep, Izzy found herself scrolling through Cameron's Instagram. His Phoenix content wasn't performing well. Comments were sparse, engagement was down, and his latest post about reconnecting with family values had exactly 12 likes. The algorithm was brutally honest about authenticity. People could sense desperation, even through a screen. Izzy closed the app and opened her own LinkedIn profile. 12,000 followers now, consistent engagement, inquiries from potential clients every week. Tomorrow she was interviewing for her first full-time employee, someone to help manage the growing client base while she focused on strategy and business development. Cameron Sterling IV wanted back into their lives because his attempt at replacing them had failed spectacularly. But Izzy Patterson had built something that didn't need replacing, didn't need fixing, didn't need him at all. The difference between them wasn't just success or failure. It was the difference between someone who ran from responsibility and someone who transformed it into empire. The family law consultation would happen the following week, not out of fear, but out of strategy. By the time Cameron realized that persistence wasn't the same thing as perseverance, Izzy would have legal frameworks in place to protect the family she'd built from the chaos he represented. Some battles are won through confrontation. Others are won through preparation. The email arrived at 3:47 a.m. on a Tuesday, the timestamp revealing Cameron's desperation more clearly than any words could. Izzy read it over her morning coffee while Luna ate cereal and chattered to her stuffed phoenix about the day's plans. Subject: last chance. Izzy, I know you don't want to hear from me, but I'm leaving Phoenix tomorrow. This didn't go how I planned. I thought if you could see that I've changed, that I'm trying to build something real. I found out about the other families. Seattle and Denver. You were right to document everything. I don't know how you knew, but you were right about all of it. I'm not asking for forgiveness anymore. I'm asking for the chance to do one thing right. To tell Luna I'm sorry. To tell her that leaving wasn't about her. It was about me being a coward. I'll be at the Desert Botanical Garden at 2 p.m. today. The Butterfly Pavilion. If you come, I'll say what I need to say and then I'll leave you both alone forever. If you don't come, I'll understand. I'm sorry isn't enough, but it's all I have. Cameron Luna looked up from her cereal, those green-blue eyes studying her mother's face with the intuitive intelligence that still amazed Izzy. Mama sad? Not sad, baby girl. Just thinking. Izzy folded her phone face down on the counter. Want to go see the butterflies today? Butterflies! Luna clapped, sending Cheerios flying. Pretty. The Desert Botanical Garden had become their special place over the past year, somewhere Luna could run safely while Izzy decompressed from client calls. The Butterfly Pavilion was Luna's favorite. A humid oasis where she would stand perfectly still, arms outstretched, hoping one would land on her. They arrived early. Izzy wanted to control the environment, to choose the positioning, to ensure Luna felt safe regardless of how the conversation went. She'd brought snacks, water, Luna's favorite toys. Everything needed to make a quick exit if Cameron's version of closure became too much. He was already there when they walked into the pavilion, sitting on a bench near the entrance, staring at his hands. The Cameron Sterling IV brand was completely absent. No ring light, no perfect angles, no motivational backdrop. Just a man in wrinkled khakis and a polo shirt that had seen better days. Luna spotted him first. Man again. she announced with the weary tone of someone who'd encountered this particular inconvenience too many times. "Hello, Luna," Cameron said softly, not moving from the bench. "Do you like the butterflies?" Luna considered this question seriously, then nodded. "Pretty," she confirmed, then looked at her mother. "Mama, butterflies? Go ahead, baby girl. Stay where Mama can see you." Luna wandered toward the flowering plants, immediately absorbed in the magic of creatures that seemed too beautiful to be real. A large orange monarch landed on a nearby flower, and she gasped with delight, pointing urgently for her mother to witness this miracle. "She's perfect," Cameron said, his voice thick with emotion. "She's absolutely perfect." "Yes, she is." Izzy remained standing, arms crossed, maintaining physical and emotional distance. "I don't remember being that young and innocent. Happy." Cameron watched Luna attempt to whisper to a butterfly that had landed near her shoe. "Was I ever that trusting?" "She trusts because she's been given no reason not to. She's safe, loved, consistent in her world." Izzy's tone was matter of fact. "Children reflect their environment. You did that. You gave her that." Cameron finally looked up at Izzy. "I want you to know I understand that now. What I walked away from wasn't just a woman and a baby. It was a family. A real family." "Why are you telling me this, Cameron?" "Because I need you to know that when I'm gone, really gone this time, it's not because I don't love her. It's because I do." His voice cracked. "I love her enough to stop disrupting the life you've built for her." A blue butterfly landed on Luna's outstretched finger, and she went completely still, hardly breathing, as if she understood she was experiencing something magical that required reverence. "I researched you," Cameron continued. "Your business, your clients, your success. I read every LinkedIn post, every article written about you. Single mother builds $1 million agency. From abandonment to empire. The entrepreneur who turned betrayal into business strategy." Izzy felt a chill run down her spine. She hadn't known about some of those articles. "You're famous, Izzy. Not Instagram famous, actually famous. In business circles, entrepreneur communities, women's leadership forums, people study your story." Cameron's voice held something between admiration and devastation. "And I'm just a footnote. The coward who walked away from Izzy Patterson. Is that what this is about? Your reputation?" "No." Cameron shook his head emphatically. "This is about understanding that I can't undo what I did. I can't earn my way back into her life. I can't fix this." Luna had moved on from the butterfly, distracted by a colorful flower that was apparently the perfect height for toddler investigation. She picked it carefully and toddled back to her mother, offering the slightly crushed bloom with the generous heart of someone who wanted to share beauty. "Thank you, baby girl. It's beautiful." Izzy accepted the flower with the reverence it deserved. "Mama beautiful," Luna announced, then noticed Cameron watching them. "Man sad?" Out of the mouths of babes. "Yes," Cameron said quietly. "Man is very sad. But not because of you, Luna. Because of choices I made before you were born." Luna studied him with that serious expression she wore when processing complex information. Then she walked over to the flower bed, selected another bloom, and walked back to Cameron. "For sad," she said simply, offering him the flower. Cameron stared at the small pink bloom in his daughter's tiny hand, and tears started flowing down his cheeks. Not the performative emotion of social media, but the raw grief of a man finally understanding the magnitude of his loss. "Thank you," he whispered, accepting the flower with shaking hands. Luna nodded, satisfied with this transaction, and returned to butterfly watching. "She's going to be extraordinary," Cameron said, wiping his eyes with the back of his hand. "And she's going to do it without needing me to figure myself out first." "Cameron," Izzy's voice softened slightly, "what you did was unforgivable. But what you're doing now, recognizing that love sometimes means stepping away, that's the first truly mature thing I've ever seen you do." "Too little, too late. Way too little, way too late," Izzy agreed. "But it's something." They sat in silence for a few minutes, watching Luna move through the pavilion like a tiny explorer in a magical kingdom. She'd learned to move slowly around the butterflies, understanding instinctively that gentle creatures required gentle handling. "Will you tell her about me someday?" Cameron asked finally. "I'll tell her that her biological father loved her enough to let her grow up safe and happy. Beyond that," Izzy shrugged, "she'll have questions eventually. I'll answer them honestly." "And Alex? The man from the WeWork?" Izzy felt her expression soften involuntarily. "Alex chose us. Every day he chooses us. Luna calls him Uncle Alex. And he's earned that title. Good. She deserves someone who chooses to stay. Cameron stood up, carefully placing Luna's flower in his shirt pocket. I'm going back to Oklahoma tomorrow. My parents offered me a job at their insurance agency. Nothing glamorous, but honest work. That sounds like a good start. Izzy? Cameron paused, looking back at her one last time. For what it's worth, I'm proud of what you built, and I'm sorry I wasn't strong enough to build it with you. He walked toward the exit without looking back, leaving Izzy and Luna alone among the butterflies. Bye-bye, man, Luna called after him, then immediately returned her attention to a particularly stunning yellow butterfly that had landed on her shoe. Izzy watched Cameron disappear through the pavilion doors, feeling something she hadn't expected. Peace, not forgiveness. That would take much longer, if it ever came at all. But closure, the understanding that some chapters end not with reconciliation, but with recognition. Her phone buzzed with a text from Alex. How did it go? Better than expected. Heading home soon. Luna made a new butterfly friend. Can't wait to hear about it. Dinner tonight? I'm cooking. Izzy smiled, watching Luna attempt to have a serious conversation with her butterfly friend about the proper etiquette for wing appreciation. We'll be there. Fair warning. She's going to want to tell you everything about butterflies. My favorite kind of dinner conversation. As they walked toward the exit, Luna skipping ahead with the boundless energy of someone who'd had a perfect day, Izzy realized that Cameron had given her something unexpected in his goodbye. Confirmation that she'd chosen correctly. Every decision, every sacrifice, every sleepless night building their empire, it had all led to this moment. A little girl who gave flowers to sad strangers and trusted butterflies to land on her shoes. An empire built not on what was taken from them, but on what they'd created together, and the certainty that some families are born not from biology, but from the daily choice to stay. The butterfly pavilion would become Luna's favorite metaphor as she grew older. Beautiful things that seemed fragile, but were actually strong enough to travel thousands of miles. Some transformations happen in cocoons. Others happen in the space between a woman deciding to stay and a man finally learning to leave. 1 year later, the Forbes article photographer captured the shot perfectly. Izzy standing in the floor-to-ceiling windows of her new downtown Phoenix office, the city skyline stretching behind her like a conquered kingdom. Luna, now 2.5, sat at a miniature desk nearby, working on her own laptop, a decommissioned MacBook that Izzy had filled with educational games and photos. Can you look toward the camera, Ms. Patterson? The photographer asked. We want to capture the confidence that built Patterson Digital from nothing. Not nothing, Izzy thought. From betrayal, from abandonment, from $89 and a yellow post-it note. But she smiled for the camera, because the Forbes feature story would reach millions of women who needed to see that empire building was possible even when, especially when, you started with less than nothing. Mama Magazine, Luna announced proudly, having learned that today was special because people with cameras were documenting their life. That's right, baby girl. Mama's in a magazine because she built something amazing. We built, Luna corrected with the precision of someone who'd been included in every major business decision since birth. Mama and Luna built, the photographer laughed. Is she always this involved in business operations? Always. Luna's been my business partner since day one. Izzy picked up her daughter, who immediately began arranging Izzy's hair for optimal photo angles. She has excellent instincts for brand management. It was true. Patterson Digital Agency now employed 12 people, had offices in Phoenix and Denver, and had just signed their largest contract yet, a $2.3 million digital transformation for a renewable energy consortium. The company projected $8 million in revenue for the year, putting Izzy firmly in the category of entrepreneurs who'd built something that couldn't be diminished by one person's absence. More importantly, she'd built something that proved absence could be transformed into abundance. Tell me about your success story, the journalist said, settling into one of the comfortable chairs in Izzy's office. From single mother to millionaire entrepreneur in 3 years. What was the turning point? Izzy considered the question while Luna played quietly with blocks on the carpet, the same rainbow blocks they'd had in their Glendale apartment, now arranged in a corner of an office that overlooked the city, where she'd once been homeless. The turning point was realizing that the person who abandoned me had also freed me, she said finally. When someone walks away from your life, they're not just leaving. They're giving you permission to build something they could never have imagined. And your daughter's father? Is he involved in Luna's life now? Luna looked up at the mention of father, her expression curious but not pained. They'd had age-appropriate conversations about how some families look different, how Luna had Mama and Uncle Alex in their chosen family, while other children had different configurations. Luna's father made his choice 3 years ago. We've made ours since then. Izzy's voice was neutral, factual. The beautiful thing about family is that it's not defined by who shows up once, but by who shows up consistently. As if summoned by the conversation, Alex appeared in the office doorway, holding coffee and wearing the easy smile that had become as familiar as home. Sorry, I'm late. Lunch meeting ran long. He handed Izzy her usual order, oat milk latte, extra shot, and crouched down to Luna's level. How's my favorite business executive today? Uncle Alex. Luna abandoned her blocks to launch herself into his arms. Mama's famous. Mama's always been famous to us, Alex said, lifting Luna effortlessly. But now everyone else gets to know how extraordinary she is. The photographer caught the moment, the three of them laughing together, Luna secure in Alex's arms while Izzy beamed with the kind of joy that can't be staged. It would become the photo that defined the article, the image that perfectly captured what Empire actually looked like. Not mansions or luxury cars, but the quiet confidence of people who'd chosen each other deliberately and built something lasting together. After the interview crew left, Izzy stood in her office watching the Phoenix sunset paint the mountains purple and gold. Luna was at her child-sized conference table, conducting very serious meetings with her stuffed animals, while Alex worked on his laptop nearby, the picture of domestic business bliss. The article will be out next month, Izzy said, settling onto the couch next to Alex. Forbes estimates it'll reach about 3 million readers. 3 million people learning that resilience looks like a woman with a laptop and a toddler, Alex said, closing his computer to give her his full attention. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of what you've built. What we've built, Izzy corrected, echoing Luna's earlier sentiment. You've been part of this story since month 18. You chose us when we were still figuring ourselves out. I chose you because you'd already figured yourselves out. You just didn't know it yet. Luna finished her stuffed animal meeting and wandered over to the adults, climbing onto the couch between them with the assumption that she belonged wherever they were. Story time, she requested, pulling out her favorite book, a picture book about butterflies that they'd bought after the botanical garden visit a year ago. Which butterfly story tonight? Izzy asked, settling Luna against her side. The one about growing wings, Luna said decisively. As Izzy read about caterpillars transforming into butterflies, she thought about her own metamorphosis. 3 years ago, she'd been a woman who defined herself by her relationship to a man who didn't value what he had. Now she was a woman who'd built an empire that employed others, supported families, created something meaningful that would outlast any individual relationship. Mama? Luna said sleepily as the story ended. Do butterflies remember being caterpillars? I don't know, baby girl. Why? Because if they do, they probably think being a butterfly is better. Alex and Izzy exchanged a look over Luna's head, one of those wordless communications that long partnerships develop. The wisdom of children, delivered with perfect timing. I think you're right, Izzy said, kissing the top of Luna's head. Being a butterfly is definitely better. Later that evening, after Luna was asleep in the small bedroom off Izzy's office, a space they'd created for the nights when work ran late, Izzy and Alex stood on the office balcony watching the city lights twinkle below them. Question, Alex said, wrapping his arms around her from behind. When Luna's older and she asks about her origin story, what will you tell her? Izzy leaned back against his chest, solid and warm and permanently present in their lives. I'll tell her that sometimes the worst thing that happens to you becomes the foundation for the best thing you build. I'll tell her that her father's absence taught us both what real love looks like. Not the kind that leaves when things get difficult, but the kind that shows up every day and chooses to stay. And if she wants to contact him someday, then I'll support that decision, because by then, she'll have grown up watching what healthy relationships look like. She'll know the difference between someone who earns their place in her life and someone who assumes they deserve it. They stood in comfortable silence, watching their city spread out below them like a kingdom they'd conquered not through force, but through the quiet persistence of people who refused to be broken by other people's failures. Izzy's phone buzzed with a notification. Her LinkedIn post about the Forbes feature had reached 50,000 views in 2 hours. The comments were pouring in from women sharing their own stories of transformation, of building empires from betrayal, of discovering that the people who walk away were just making room for the people who choose to stay. But the comment that made her smile was from an unexpected source. Meredith, the nurse from her old apartment building who'd given her $20 and the first glimpse of what survival could look like, told you that you'd figure it out. So proud of what you've built. Luna is lucky to have learned from the best. Meredith, everything okay? Alex asked, noticing her smile. Better than okay. Izzy turned in his arms, looking up at the man who'd seen her at her most vulnerable and chosen to love not just her, but the daughter who came with her. Everything is exactly as it should be. Below them, Phoenix glittered like a promise kept. Above them, stars appeared one by one in the desert sky, each one a reminder that light is most visible against darkness. And inside their office turned home, Luna slept peacefully, surrounded by the empire her mother had built, not despite her father's abandonment, but because of it. An empire constructed from the revolutionary idea that the people who choose you are more valuable than the people who are supposed to love you. Some stories end with reconciliation. Others end with the understanding that the best revenge is building something so beautiful, so successful, so unshakable, that the person who walked away becomes irrelevant to the joy they left behind. Cameron Sterling IV had taught Izzy Patterson about betrayal, about cryptocurrency courses, and about the difference between performance and authenticity. But Luna Patterson Washington would grow up learning about empire building, about chosen family, and about the revolutionary power of people who show up not just once, but every single day. The difference between those lessons would shape generations. The Forbes article would go viral, generating 847 inquiries from potential clients and resulting in Patterson Digital's expansion to 4 cities within 18 months. But the real success story wasn't in the numbers. It was in the photo of Luna at her tiny desk, wearing a blazer that matched her mother's, learning that empires are built by people who understand that the most powerful response to betrayal is building something beautiful enough to make the betrayer irrelevant. 5 years later, Luna's 7th birthday, the backyard of their Paradise Valley home buzzed with the controlled chaos of a child's birthday party. Luna, now 7 years old with her mother's fierce green eyes and her own unstoppable determination, commanded her celebration like the natural-born leader she was becoming. "Mama, the butterfly piñata goes there," she directed, pointing to the exact spot where the lighting would create the perfect Instagram moment. At 7, Luna Patterson Washington already understood the fundamentals of brand management, event planning, and the importance of creating experiences people would remember. Izzy watched her daughter orchestrate the party setup, with the same strategic thinking she'd inherited along with those copper-red curls. Patterson Digital had become Patterson Holdings 2 years ago, expanding beyond marketing into business consulting, real estate development, and a venture capital fund focused on women-owned businesses. But Luna remained her most important project. "She's got CEO written all over her," Alex said, sliding his arms around Izzy's waist as they watched Luna negotiate with the catering staff about optimal cake placement. He wore his wedding ring with the comfortable ease of someone who'd never questioned his place in their family, because he'd earned it day by day, choice by choice. "She's had excellent training," Izzy replied, leaning back against her husband's chest. The word still felt magical after 2 years of marriage. Not because she'd needed someone to complete her, she'd been complete on her own, but because Alex had added to their empire without trying to control it. Mrs. Patterson Washington, their housekeeper Carmen, approached with a gentle smile. "There's someone at the front gate asking to speak with you. He says it's about Luna's birthday." Izzy and Alex exchanged a look. They weren't expecting any additional guests, and security at their gated community was typically airtight. "Did he give a name?" Izzy asked, though something in her chest already knew. "Cameron Sterling. He said you'd understand." The name hung in the air like smoke from a fire they'd thought was long extinguished. Luna, absorbed in piñata logistics, hadn't heard the conversation, but Izzy felt Alex's arms tighten protectively around her. "What do you want to do?" he asked quietly. Izzy looked around their backyard, at the pool where Luna had learned to swim, at the garden where they grew vegetables together, at the life they'd built that was so far beyond what she'd imagined possible in that Desert Palms motel room 7 years ago. "I want to see what he thinks he has to say." They walked to the front gate together, leaving Luna safely absorbed in party preparations. Through the iron bars, Izzy saw a man who bore little resemblance to the Cameron Sterling IV, who'd once dominated social media with cryptocurrency advice and lifestyle content. This Cameron was graying at the temples, wore a simple button-down shirt and khakis that looked genuinely modest rather than strategically casual. He held a small wrapped gift and wore the expression of someone who'd learned the difference between humility and performance. "Hello, Izzy." His voice was quieter than she remembered. "Alex." "Cameron." Izzy's tone was neutral, professional. "What are you doing here?" "I wanted to bring Luna something for her birthday, and to see her. Just to see her." He held up the gift. "It's a book. About butterflies." I remembered. From the botanical garden. "She's 7 years old, Cameron. She doesn't know you exist." "I know. I'm not asking to disrupt her party or confuse her. He paused, searching for words. "I've been sober for 3 years. Real sobriety, not just from alcohol. From the need to run when things get difficult. From the need to be someone I'm not." Alex stepped slightly forward, not threatening but clearly protective. "What does that have to do with showing up at our daughter's birthday party unannounced?" "Nothing. Everything. I don't know." Cameron's composure cracked slightly. "I've been living in Tulsa, working for my parents' insurance agency. Real work, helping real people. I got married last year, to someone who knew about Luna before our first date, who understood that I'd made choices I couldn't undo." "Good for you," Izzy said, meaning it. "But that doesn't explain why you're here." "Because my wife asked me when I was going to stop punishing myself and start honoring my daughter by making sure she knows she was wanted, even if I was too broken to be what she needed." Izzy felt something shift in her chest. Not forgiveness. That was still a bridge too far. But recognition that the man standing before her had finally become someone capable of putting Luna's needs before his own guilt. "She doesn't need to know you exist, Cameron. She has a father. She has a family. She has everything she needs." "I know, and I'm grateful for that. Grateful to Alex for being what I couldn't be. Grateful to you for being strong enough to build what I was too weak to help create." Cameron's voice was steady, honest. "But someday she might have questions. And when she does, I want her to know that her biological father fought to become someone worthy of answering them." From the backyard, they could hear Luna's laughter echoing off the water as her friends arrived for the party. Pure joy, uncomplicated by adult regrets or complicated histories. "What are you asking for?" Alex asked. "Nothing today, maybe nothing ever. But if Luna ever wants to know about her biological father, I want her to know about the man I became, not just the boy who ran away." Izzy studied Cameron's face, looking for traces of the manipulation that had once defined every conversation. Instead, she saw something she'd never seen before. Genuine accountability without expectation of reward. "The book," she said finally. "What kind of butterfly book?" "It's about metamorphosis. About how caterpillars don't just grow wings, they completely dissolve and rebuild themselves into something entirely new." Cameron's smile was sad but genuine. "I thought she might like the science behind the magic." Despite herself, Izzy almost smiled. Luna had recently announced her intention to become a butterfly scientist, and had been checking out every book about Lepidoptera from the library. "I'll give her the book," Izzy said, from an anonymous admirer of her butterfly expertise. "If she likes it, maybe someday there will be more books. But no contact, no relationship, no expectations. You don't get to be her father just because you finally learned how to be a decent man." "I understand. And Izzy, thank you for raising her to be someone worth becoming a better person for." Cameron placed the wrapped book on the ground next to the gate and walked back to his car, a modest Honda Civic that suggested his influencer days were definitively over. "What do you think?" Izzy asked Alex as they watched Cameron drive away. "I think that's the first time he's ever put Luna's needs before his own feelings." Alex picked up the gift, examining it thoughtfully. "And I think 7 years was exactly how long it took for him to grow up enough to understand what he lost." They walked back to the party, where Luna was directing a complex game that seemed to involve butterflies, treasure hunting, and very specific rules about turn-taking. The book would go into Luna's room that evening, another addition to her growing library with no fanfare or explanation needed. Luna would grow up knowing she was loved fiercely by the people who chose her every day. If she ever wanted to know about the man who shared her DNA, that information would be available to her, but it would be her choice, made from a position of strength and security rather than need. "Mama! Uncle Alex!" Luna called from across the yard. "Come see what happens when you mix butterfly confetti with pool water. It's science." As they hurried toward their daughter, their chosen daughter, their perfectly complete family, Izzy realized that empires weren't just about business success or financial security. They were about creating something so stable, so full of love, so unshakable, that even the people who'd once tried to destroy it could only stand at the gates and admire what they'd lost. Some stories end with reconciliation. Others end with the understanding that the best victory is becoming so happy that your former enemy's approval becomes irrelevant to your joy. Cameron Sterling IV had finally learned to love Luna enough to stay away, and Luna Patterson Washington would grow up in an empire built on the revolutionary principle that love is a verb, family is a choice, and the most powerful response to betrayal is building something so beautiful that the betrayer becomes just another person standing outside, hoping for a glimpse of the magic they chose to abandon. The butterfly piñata swayed gently in the desert breeze, waiting for the moment when Luna would release all the treasures hidden inside. Some metamorphoses take years. Others happen in the space between a child's laughter and the understanding that love is measured not in grand gestures, but in the daily choice to stay. Would you have the courage to rebuild your life from scratch, knowing that the person who broke you might someday want back in? Your participation in the channel is very important. Please leave your opinion in the comments. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the story, please subscribe to our channel and leave a comment below letting us know what you thought. Your feedback and support mean a lot to us. Stay tuned for more exciting stories.